Hi, it's Rachel here. I haven't made a video for a few months, so I thought I'd just check in, let everyone know that yes, I am fine, because a couple of people have asked. Yeah, I've been doing really well. We've had a lovely summer here in New Zealand, probably the warmest that we've had in several years, and normally the humidity is quite bad for my headaches, but for some reason this year I've actually felt really good. I told my doctor the other day that I felt the best that I've felt in years, so that's saying something. A few months ago I did start using some essential oils, and I love this, and I just put it up my nose. It's got a few goodies in it like peppermint and fennel and cardamom, sage and ginger, I think, and I think it's really helped with my headaches. And peppermint's been used for headache pain quite a lot, I think, but that blend, it just seems to I don't know, it just makes me feel fresher and more alert, and certainly distracts me from headache pain, and I guess it opens up your airways and relaxes them. Peppermint is a relaxant as well. So I don't know, with the warm summer plus using these, it's just made me feel good. I ain't complaining. It's great. So with feeling quite good, it means I've been a little bit distracted from my activism, and I've been spending a bit of time in my little art studio, which is where I am at the moment, in my garden. It's a bit of a mess in here, but I've been having a go at acrylic paint pouring, which I only discovered on YouTube a couple of months ago, and I'm having so much fun with that. You don't need any particular skill. It's quick, very quick, get quick results. It either turns out or it doesn't. So I'm just using cheap acrylic paint at the moment. And I've also been making a little bit of jewellery using some of the painting techniques I've learned, and yeah, kind of having a bit of fun in the shed here, and hopefully we'll build up enough stuff to be able to sell it, you know, relatively cheaply at local markets and things. So yeah, I'm doing well. My motivation for parking down the road from the Kingdom Hall has waned a little bit lately. It sort of gets to the time I think, oh, you know, I can't be bothered really. But anyway, this Sunday I intend to make an effort, because it is the special talk, and I doubt whether many members of the public will turn up. I know in the last few years that I was an active witness, and we had the campaign to invite people to the memorial and to the special talk. I don't think anybody came. Nah, in fact, the numbers over the years that I was a witness, the numbers attending the memorial and the special talk actually went down. It used to be standing room only, you know, standing out the back, second school, and you know, almost out the door. But now it's not hard. Well, at the time I left, it wasn't difficult to find a seat at all. There were always spare seats. So anyway, what I was thinking that I wouldn't mind doing is advertising the new book. Well, it's not a new book, but this 5th edition, which I just received in the post from the States yesterday, so I'm absolutely rapt to have my own copy. I have read it. It was loaned to me by another ex-witness a few years ago, temporarily, because it was so precious. He wanted it back, and so I gave it back to him. He's since deceased, unfortunately, but I'm really pleased to have my very own copy that I can go through and highlight bits if I want to. I did actually make notes the first time I went through in his book with page numbers for reference, you know, if I could, because you could find it online We used to be able to find it online, and but now I have my own copy. And isn't that a lovely portrait of him? Doesn't he look like a bitter, angry, venomous, foaming at the mouth, rabid apostate? No, he actually looks there to be like he has a very gentle, kindly, thoughtful looking face there. And that's exactly the sort of man that he was. When you read his book, this book here, which is fairly thick, he comes across as an extremely caring, compassionate, devoted Christian man who hated seeing injustice. He had real feeling for the downtrodden, and he saw the injustices that were occurring in the organisation and through the decisions of the governing body. And of course he was a governing body member for 9 years before he resigned, because he just, as the title is, Crisis of Conscience, he had a crisis of conscience. And that's exactly how I felt at the time that I started really questioning the organisation. My conscience was in crisis, and I needed to do something if I was going to stay sane and healthy. So what I would like to do is make up a big poster of this man's face, because he does have such a nice look, and headed up Crisis of Conscience, and then pose the question, why did this kind Christian brother resign from the governing body? Because he did resign from the governing body. He didn't intend to leave the organisation. He resigned from the governing body and went into a congregation, and he was disfellowshipped because he had a meal with someone who was disassociated. And this person, the rule about shunning someone who was disassociated had only just come in. And not that I think he would have followed that rule, because the disassociated man was his friend, his employer, and his landlord. But that's why he got disfellowshipped. It wasn't, because of anything, nasty, like he wasn't going around threatening the governing body or anything like that. Yet the governing body back in the 80s, when this all went down, when he left, sort of painted him as the evil slave, an evil apostate man, set in his heart against God and against his organisation and that sort of thing. And I don't know if a lot of witnesses today may not even know about Ray Franz. If they were around in the organisation in the 80s, they would have heard of him then, because, like I said, that's when the governing body brought in the shunning the disassociated rule, and they spoke a little bit in their literature about apostasy and stuff. So anyway, if I advertise that book and say that he resigned from the governing body, it may just make people think, oh, I never heard of that, who's he? And just generate a little bit of talk, possibly, I don't know. So I'll see what happens. And of course the following weekend, so the special talk's this weekend, and the following one is the memorial, I think, 31st. I'm not even sure what day that is, but I don't intend on interfering at all with their special day that they hold sacred, or they think they do. But in fact it has more similarity with a Black Mass, really, which is something that's intentionally dishonouring Jesus Christ. So anyway, still, to them it's a sacred thing, and I don't think there's anything to be gained by me being there. It might even be a bit dark to see me anyway. Okay, also something that's exciting that's happening here in Wellington, sort of in the middle of New Zealand, bottom of the North Island, is we're having a XJW meetup where a few from scattered around the North Island will be coming down to Wellington, and Lara, who's an activist in Australia, she's on holiday in New Zealand at the moment with her partner, and she's organised this meetup. So I'm really excited to be meeting her and other friends that I've made around the country here, or around the North Island. So that's on the 14th of April that we'll be doing that. Some other things that I just wanted to comment on that have been going on, which is very good news for the XJW community, is how in the UK, well in Britain and in Holland, the governments there, the parliaments, have actually been seriously questioning the policies of Jehovah's Witnesses when it comes to child sexual abuse allegations. And so that's a very positive development. We just hope that they take it further and investigate it. In New Zealand at the moment, things are a little interesting because following the Australian Royal Commission, there's been a call from people in New Zealand who are sexual abuse survivors to have the government examine their abuse, but they've demanded a royal commission, and the government has agreed to do a royal commission that's been set up now. But what they're looking at is where the state has been involved only. So they will consider child sexual abuse of those who have been placed by the state into an institutional type setting, or perhaps even any kind of care, like an orphanage or something, or school, even if it's a faith-based care. If the government put them there, then they will consider it. But if the government didn't put them there, then they won't be considering that abuse. So if you're just someone who was abused by your priest, for example, in your church, that won't be considered. Only if you were placed into proximity with that guy, with the priest, by the state. So it's a very limited inquiry, and there is a Facebook group or an organisation in New Zealand of people who were abused in faith settings, and they are calling to the government and sending in letters and submissions and things to widen out the scope of the inquiry. But it doesn't really at this point look like it's going to happen. But I guess people have to make a noise about it, and maybe down the track something will happen, because children in these religious institutions are not being protected. You think that, well, most religious organisations in New Zealand and probably elsewhere around the world are registered as charities, and the advancement of religion is automatically considered as a charitable purpose, which I think is outrageous in this day and age. Especially when you've got all different kinds of religions all promoting themselves as the one and only true religion. Becomes the source of many conflicts. So I fail to see how this is of public benefit. But by granting these groups this religious or this charity status, it in effect endorses them, doesn't it? Because it gives them tax exemption, and it also gives the impression to the public that these charities are beneficial, they're not harmful. So it is. I think it's really time that charity law in New Zealand and elsewhere was seriously addressed, and they stop considering advancement of religion as an automatic free pass to getting a tax exemption and charity status. But anyway, so that's what's happening in New Zealand. I am very excited about the new documentary that's going to be screening in Canada on the, I think they call it W5 show, similar to 60 Minutes apparently. And fortunately they have a YouTube channel where they will be posting the documentary, so I'm really excited to see that, because we know some very prominent ex-JW activists who are featured in that documentary, so that'll be really good. And we have some interesting things going on in New Zealand at the moment too, and hopefully we will soon start to see something appearing on screens in New Zealand, so I can't wait for that day. That'll be good. Anyway, I think that's about all I was going to talk about today, so it's just checking in, saying I'm fine and what's going on, and I'll hopefully make another video with something substantial to say in it next time, soon. Okay, bye.